Welcome back to the channel, guys. This is Ustride. All right, so I have with me two wheels here, two of probably the best wheels on the market in terms of just, the size and speed, right? Technically, they're not really comparable in terms of like a lot of things, but I'm here to talk about just a little bit of how I feel regarding these wheels. First, shout out to Ewheels for allowing me to review this particular wheel here. Although I've had it for a little over a month, I've only had it a short while to ride, and mostly because of that suspension issue. And shout out to EUC Vibes for letting me use this beast of a machine, the Master Pro version 1. This is the 4800 watt hours, and I'm actually excited to take this thing on the road. I've had it for about a week now. I've just been trying to cope with the time I've had in New York. Okay, so I barely got to sleep. I went over there for, went on a mission. And really, I just wanted to have it in a different place. And other than Boston, I'm very familiar with Boston. So I just wanted in a different place to see how I could truly ride it or get acclimated with it. Because I know Boston really well. And I kind of know New York, but I was able to get around New York quite easily with this thing, as big as it is. But let's talk about some of the obvious things I feel about these two particular wheels off the bat. Now, first things first, I haven't actually ridden this beast right here, but on first glance, it looks amazing, man. It really does. It looks robust. Like, just my first impression on it is how raw it looks. It's just a raw look to it. Everything is raw about it. The pedal hangers, the battery packs, the suspension in the middle of those two battery packs. I mean, the wires hanging out, the bolts, the light, the flimsy top. I really like that stand. That's actually one of my favorite parts about this beast, is that stand in the back. That was very innovative, actually. I like this look of the wheel, how it's, propped up like that. I like the screen. Wish there was more information on the screen, but hey, it works for the basics. But, whereas this one is raw and just in your face, what you see is what you get kind of thing. Kind of like an Android, you know what I mean? Android phone, you could open it up, well, nowadays you can't really open up Android phones, but you could buy Android phones on the market and open them up and see what's inside, mess with them and all that. Whereas this one, holy moly, it's, refined, it's tuned, and tune is really the word I want to use because this thing feels tuned. I was talking to Sensei Vegan the other day just so that we can see, because I can be biased, right? So I let him get on it, and one of the things he said that was very true is that this thing, you don't hear any creaks. There's no creaks, no nothing. Now, that's regarding the wheel in general. But depending on how you set up your suspension, you could hear some knocking sounds. That could possibly be due to the dampening. I don't think I have my dampening tuned perfectly yet, but I'll get to that because I remember I did change the suspension because there was a problem. So I'm not like the best with suspension tuning, but I can work on it. But overall, this thing has been great for the time that I've had it, besides the suspension issue, which was not technically an in-motion issue. It was an issue with the previous reviewers who had this wheel to review, and that information was not passed down to me properly. So I ended up going through some issues with it, but overall, minus that minor issue, which could have been a major issue, this wheel is solid, man. It's solid, it's well built, it's well thought out, I mean, you guys have seen my review. I love this wheel, I really do. Now, besides everything I've talked about already and most people have talked about already, I think the one factor that stands out among all regarding this V13 is the quality and also the potential. the ability for me to just push this wheel the way I want. I mean, I went to New York, right? And I was hoping to meet the guys and stuff like that, but it was raining. And it was a good opportunity for me to, you know, because when Sensei Vegan said, hey, it's going to rain, I'm like, who cares? You know, I'll come. I did think about it at first, but I'm like, dude, I'm coming. So then I'm glad I did, because I wouldn't have been able to go this week, you know, and I wouldn't have been able to finish my video. So I went, and it was raining all 2 days I was there, except for when I left. When I was leaving, it was beautiful. Isn't that how it works? And when I got back to Boston, it was raining. How hilarious is that? All week in Boston, it rained. So that was very interesting. So, but I did get to ride this thing in the rain. But when I went to that tunnel was really, really fascinating. That's going to be in the final review, which hopefully I can finish this weekend. I'm going to try to push it and just add the little videos that I got from New York, just pop that in here and there. And we can call it a day. Trying to keep it under 30 minutes, you know what I'm saying? But I was able to ride this thing up to 49, 50 miles an hour in less than a quarter mile. Now, remember, I had a race with EUC Vibes in a quarter mile. It was a quarter mile race, and, you know, all morning I was pushing this thing. So that's part of my experience, too, is that I was pushing this thing in a tunnel that I think I rode 0.2 miles, okay, 0.2 miles and 50 miles an hour in 0.2 miles. So I had a lot of practice in the morning pushing this thing, and not once did I feel I was pushing it too hard. Now, my pads, the type of pad setup I have, this is my EXN pads. My EXN is right over there right now. You can't see it, but it's down and out. It's probably my board. I have to fix this thing because I really love that wheel. I just don't like the overheating. But this thing does not overheat. I've pushed this thing like a lot, but then again, I pushed it. Yeah, I did. I did push it in the day. I pushed it at night, and it did not overheat. But to be fair, a lot of these days were cool. So I guess tomorrow's around 71 degrees. So I have some final shots I have to take with this. So hopefully we can see if it overheats. I doubt it will, because I saw the two fans in there, and they're properly placed. And there's a lot of place for the air to come in and go out versus, you know, my old Bigodes. I never understand why Bigode creates the wheels the way they do. I don't even know where the air is coming, where it's going. Like what the... But anyway, they really thought of this one. So I understand a lot of people out there, you know, I think Inmotion, you know, could have done better by reducing the size, et cetera, guys. I mean, come on, man. You gotta be, keep up the pressure. Keep up the pressure on any company. But at the end of the day, dude, they're not known for this. This is not their thing. But now that they've done it, this is a beautiful product. Give them the props, man. Holy smokes. Like, give the company the props. Holy, what do you want? You got a wheel that does 50 plus miles an hour, 56 to be exact, before the unlock. You have the tilt back. You have the 20% safety margin that this thing does not have. I mean, you can set tilt back on this. You can set the 20% margin on this using various apps or, you know, monitoring apps such as the EUC World. But it's not the same as having it inherent to the wheel. You know what I mean? This thing, you don't need an app to be sure that you're at you have a safety margin. It's just part of it. Here, it's not part of it. What's funny is this thing has a higher top speed than this does in terms of free wheel spin. You know what I mean? Free wheel spin for this one is about 88. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember it was 88. And this one is, I think, is about 75 or something like that, 77 or something like that. Now, what's interesting is this one has a smaller battery. This one has a massive battery. So technically speaking, you know, on paper, the raw output is what is power, right? Current times voltage. So clearly, this thing should be putting out a lot more power than this. But I don't think there's something Inmotion did with their machine. It's not necessarily about that power. There's a 10,000 watt peak motor in here, okay, that they've, you know, fine-tuned down to a nominal watt of 4,500 watts, okay? I believe this one is also 4,500 watts, but I don't know what the peak is. Could be 10, I don't know. Let's just assume that it is. I don't think these guys make their own motor. I think this one is in-house, though, to be honest. I think this one is in-house. And the difference between the two, on paper, because I haven't really ridden this one, I can't wait. But this one is, you know, fine-tuned, man. And the way that they tested this wheel is unlike any other company we've seen test wheels. Okay, yeah, we saw King Song doing something similar, but they had a guy on the wheel and, you know, applying resistance to that particular wheel, simulating a real world condition. And what we saw was that this thing can maintain a top speed for about 2 minutes under, you know, reliable conditions. I don't think this can do it. Oh, I don't think this is capable of maintaining a speed of, let's say the top speed of this is, I don't know, 60. I don't think this thing can maintain a top speed of 60 with a tilt back. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't heard anyone boast about that. In fact, the first speed run regarding the Master Pro was some guy cutting out and breaking his collarbone. So it's not something unusual for Bigode, so no points off there. It's just something we know. Now, Inmotion did not want that type of reputation at all. Okay, this is not, they're known for being a great freaking fantastic company where last mile wheels are concerned, and not really just last mile performance wheels, because I'll consider the V12 a performance wheel. I kind of rode it. I saw someone ride it, and I rode the V11, and the motor from the Inmotion always felt phenomenal to me. Always felt phenomenal. I just never understood why they didn't get into that realm of performance someone like me was looking for, because I honestly thought that they could dominate, not just because of their capability as engineers to build great wheels, just the fact that, you know, their approach, you know, you can tell how a company takes a certain product to a different level, and their level of how they apply their level of expertise. And not just expertise, because you could be good at something and just dish something out and be like, hey, look, I created something great. And you could look at another company like this one, because this one, we can do whatever we want. And then yes, they do. And you can see they do it. Look at this mudguard right here. It's just some flimsy piece of metal that they put here to get the job done. Look at this one. This is, listen, just listen. Two different design philosophies. This one says it needs a mudguard. Get a piece of metal and just put that thing and bolt it on really strong so people can, you know, just have a piece of mudguard. This one, it's designed into the wheel. It's part of the design. This was an afterthought. This is part of the design. You know what I'm saying? So, and this one's beautiful. It's one continuous thing all the way to the back, whereas this one it's not. So this company gets it done. This one gets it done right, you know? And so you're looking at them, and people, you know, it's funny, before Inmotion, all the heat was in Bigode. They're like, this company, it sucks. You know, when they make stuff, it breaks, and it looks funny, and the wires are sticking out, and then we have to add, like, you know, that silicone on the wires so that it doesn't, like, get, you know, shorted and stuff like that. All these wires are sticking everywhere. What kind of company is this? It's a piece of crap. They always talk like that. But guess what? They always buy them. Now you have a company who everyone was looking for this company to be like. And now everyone's like, not everyone. I'm just exaggerating. But a lot of people are like, it's too heavy. The battery is not big enough. It's too tall. I'm not happy. Come on, guys. Come on, man. Look, it's their first introduction into this space. And considering that this is their first introduction into this space, they've done an A++ job. Yes, the suspension is definitely not the best. And the way I look at it, which I'm going to state in my review, is that, you know, there's a saying, well, you know, this is in my review. I'm not going to say it. It's going to sound like a repetitive thing. But basically, why focus on two things when you could focus on one thing and do it right? You know what I'm saying? Yes, people did complain about the V11 suspension being like pogo stick-like, you know, and, you know, I mean, even though it has suspension, not everybody uses the V11 for off-roading the way they do an S18 or any other, you know, suspension-equipped wheel out there. like the S22, you know what I'm saying? Or Sherman S, and now the Peyton. So, you know, but again, someone brought up a great point. I think it was Sensei. He said, every car has suspension. Do you have to take your car? I have a Toyota Corolla. Am I going to take that car off-roading? Come on. So because we now have suspension, we are enjoying the benefits of suspension, and now we want to maximize we want to maximize the use of the suspension wherever we can, you know. And a lot of people love off-roading, so that's what they want to do. But you know, I think companies again should categorize their wheels and let people know, listen, this is not for off-roading, but if you want to do it, go ahead. Expect a lot of maintenance, but don't expect the best performance or experience ever on a wheel that's meant for the road, you know. And this is absolutely meant for the road. I mean, would you take this off-roading? You can, but is that what it's for? No. It's the same with this. It's the same with this. Zen Lee. Sorry, Zen Lee, I got to call you out. He said it, well, I haven't watched this video, so let me just speak on the title. I have it in my queue to watch, but in his title, he says, worst suspension wheel that he's ever ridden. Well, when I saw the video snapshot, it seemed like he was riding it off-roading. This is not an off-roading wheel. This is a street wheel, okay? So if you were to put this on a street, this is going to be a great street suspension wheel. I mean, come on. It knocks off the edge, okay, off of, you know, some bumps and stuff like that. And that's all you need. That's really all you need if you're just doing street riding. What else do you need, man? Now, conversely, I did get the chance to just stand, after I stood on this, stand on the on the Sherman S when I picked it up from Black Cobra. And man, that Sherman S felt beautiful, felt like butter with that suspension. I was like in heaven. This is not that, okay? So in the car world, when they race on tracks and stuff like that, like toge, okay? Japanese toge, which I used to watch a lot of, and I get a lot of my inspiration from. Japanese toge, what they do is they'll have some guys tune their cars, and they'll have the best horsepower, they'll have the best shocks, wheels, tires, you know, all those springs, and you know, they'll tune their ECUs so that, you know, they can get the maximum output in terms of horsepower and 0 to 60 times, etc., etc. But then, you know, the professionals, the guys who really race, they bring it to them. These are hobbyists, so they, you know, tinkerers. They bring their cars to the professionals, and the professionals will look at them and they'll, you know, give a spiel about what they did with their car and how they think they're going to win, because you know, they come to compete. And so the professionals will get in the car and drive the car around and give them a little breakdown of how they felt, you know, about how they tuned their car. And you know, the number one thing the professionals mention is this. They mention the suspension. So after they've done all this tuning and all this stuff and making the car look great and at the end of the day, the professional says, listen, you have 450 horsepower in here. Listen, you have 670 horsepower in here. Listen, you have 900 horsepower in here. But how are you going to get it to the ground? You see what I'm saying? Your suspension setup is not the best. You need to da-da-da-da-da, and they talk about the suspension. Because what does this suspension do for street cars, especially those with not much grip? It keeps the car down, you know, planted to the ground. And not only that, if you're making the turns, you don't want the car rolling on you. You want it to, like, you know, have the most stable experience. You want to have the most stable experience while making a crazy turn. I don't know the racing terms, but you get my point. You know what I'm saying? So to get an advantage over your opponent. This is that. I don't want a Sherman S suspension on this V13. Now, the type of suspension, yes. InMotion said that in the future, they will indeed incorporate better suspensions, such as, you know, those with linkages and stuff like that. But it makes sense for them to go in that progressive manner, because why focus on two things and not do a good job when they could focus on just one thing, which is what we're all concerned about, cutouts, reliability, and so, and safety. They focused on that first, and I think that was done great. I think that was done superbly. Now they can focus on the other things that people have little gripes about, such as the size of the wheel, the battery size, the suspension, the bolts, the motor bolts, etc., etc. So, yeah, I think the people who are, and this is just my opinion, I haven't watched all the videos, but in my opinion, a lot of people who are experiencing problems with the motor bolts are people who do off-roading. Because what are you going to experience on road, dude? Unless your road is like New York and you're riding in New York like 24/7 doing like DoorDash and stuff like that, then maybe you might, experience some stuff. But even then, that's unlikely. I think the people who are experiencing these problems are people who do like some jacked up stuff. You know what I'm saying? Just call it for what it is. So, and keep doing your jacked up stuff, because this is what keeps EUCs great, is people doing crazy and outrageous things, okay? So I'm not calling you out. I'm just saying we need to know where wheels stand. But anyway, you're going to do what you want at the end of the day. Now, what I'm excited about is taking this wheel out for a spin, this Master V1. And because I wanted a Master V1, but I'll tell you what, though, it looks bigger on, just like this one. It's like, this is a big wheel, don't get me wrong. But anyway, I came home and I didn't really have the time to ride this thing at all. I could have, but I had some other stuff to do. I work in the morning, I come home, and then when I come home, I sleep, and then I study, and then gym. I could have taken it out, but the thing is, I didn't want to, because I don't know his wheel that well. I just don't want to take any risks with people's wheels, and but hopefully tomorrow I can take this thing out for a spin. Oh yeah, I like the tire though. The tire looks pretty cool. It looks really robust. Wow, man, what a wheel! Holy smokes, man. Compared to the V13, the spokes on this one are beautiful. I really like the spokes on this one. There's a bigger gap between this one than this one, and I can see why this one is stronger actually. This V13 might be stronger due to how short the gap is between. There's like almost no gap, so it's just leverage, right? So when you have a metal that's long, you have more leverage, but you have more opportunity to bend the middle part of that, or somewhere in between that metal. Whereas this one, the shorter it is, the less leverage you have to break it. So this one, it's beautiful. It looks like spokes, like a car. Like, it's beautiful. So maybe that's why it's weak. I don't know. Maybe just the material is just weaker. But I do like it. So this is a street wheel. I wouldn't go off-roading with this wheel, and I certainly wouldn't be doing like 3 feet jumps with this wheel or this wheel. See, it's funny because both wheels have disadvantages. This one has a very soft rim, okay, that you don't want to abuse. And then this one has a freaking great motor and a great rim, but the suspension's not designed for 3 feet drops. So these are street wheels. These are street wheels. And I think you'll get most of your enjoyment off street riding and like a little bit of like off-roading. When I say a little bit, I mean like, like trails and stuff. Nice trails, not like crazy trails, dude, like with roots and bumps and rocks and stuff like that. That's not what this is for. Anyway, but overall, I think both companies did a great job. I mean, wow, this looks like a big Master to me. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I just can't wait to ride it. But anyway, what I want to say is I just wanted to talk about these a little bit. I don't really like the Big Oats pedal. I don't hate them, but before I experienced this E-Rides custom heel-toe equipped pedals, I really like these. But then after experiencing the E-Rides pedal, I can't go back to flat pedals, dude. The E-Rides pedal is like the best concept I've ever experienced because it doesn't make you feel like you're going to slip off. And yes, this does have spikes, which should hold you in, but just the extra advantage of having the heel toe at an angle gives me so much more comfort and security that I'm able to push this thing without worrying, especially on my toes, because I'll be taking these Grizzly pads out for a spin too. So let's see how that turns out versus my EXN setup. But yeah, man, if you have either one of these wheels, please comment below what your experience has been with the Master Pro and the V13. I know some of you are just getting your, or have just gotten your V13, and I know one guy was selling his because he thought it was too big for his car, too big for his apartment. He likes the wheel, but it was just his first wheel, I think, and it was too big for him, too heavy and everything. But my experience is that the more you ride this, the more you get used to it. And I think you should challenge yourself by just getting some cones or rocks and just try to maneuver between those rocks, and do that over time, and challenge yourself with this. Oh, the Challenger. Challenge yourself with the Challenger. But this wheel is not for a beginner. This wheel is not for a beginner. It doesn't mean you can't get it. It's just not for beginners. And it's just funny to me that beginners start off right away with these massive wheels when, you know, for us who are old-timers, when I say old-timers in the sense that, you know, we started a long time ago without big wheels like this, even though the Monster did exist, but not with near the potential as these. Because even though the Monster had a top speed, it didn't really have that torque, you know what I mean? So these wheels apparently have that torque. So that's one thing that kind of held me back with the Monster anyway. But I think these are two fantastic machines. Very, very different design philosophies, accomplishing pretty much the same task of accomplishing high speeds. But this one is definitely safer, okay, because of the technologies we talked about earlier, and you know. So look out for my final review, and guys, please show your support by purchasing something in my Teespring store. That will help me over time to review more wheels and go on more crazy trips in the rain. And definitely not the snow. Forget that. I don't like the risk of the snow. But let's go. Let's go and experience these wheels, this one particularly, and let's do some time trials where acceleration is concerned between this one and this one. And let's see how they perform. But overall, man, these are exciting times, and it's a great time to be living in the world of the PEV. Yeah! Guys, thanks for watching. This was just a quick rundown on both wheels. And again, hopefully tomorrow I'll get to ride this beast. See what's up. Shout out to Ewheels. Shout out to UC Vibes. Have a good night, and happy riding. Peace!